Rahim Yar's air was thick and heavy, a typical combination of desert heat and the faint, sweet scent of faraway jasmine. But tonight, a different chill permeated the atmosphere, a coldness that had nothing to do with the setting sun. As they approached the rusted, wrought-iron gates, Sale, the pragmatic skeptic, complained. The self-described thrill seeker and ghost hunter Hamza nearly jumped out of his seat. Beside him, Taha, the quietest and most sensitive of the trio, shifted nervously, his eyes fixed on the house ahead. The structure was known locally, simply, as the Havely, Isera, the desert mansion. It was a sprawling, neglected relic, said to have been abandoned after a series of inexplicable tragedies decades ago. "Look at this place," Hamza breathed, pulling out a cheap digital camera. "This is prime material, guys. Best adventure we've had since Karachi's fake crypt. It's just an old, unsound house, Hamza," Sale responded, lowering his sleeves. "And Hader Uncle shouldn't have given us the key. This is asking for trouble." "Nonsense." From the driver's seat, the voice boomed. In the dim light of the street lamp, Sale's jovial middle-aged Uncle Hader grinned with a wrinkled face. "As I stated, the proprietor is a coworker of mine. He needs someone to check the wiring. A little scare never hurt anyone. Just be back before midnight, boys, and don't break anything valuable. It's antique." Hader handed Sale the heavy, old-fashioned brass key, gave a hearty wave, and drove off, leaving the three friends standing on a driveway choked with weeds. The threshold, they were assaulted by a wave of filthy, rotten, and dust-smelling air as soon as the massive door creaked open. Hamza, leading the charge, flicked on a powerful LED torch. The beam broke through the pitch blackness to reveal a vast foyer with a grand staircase that swung into the gloom. Sale murmured, "Wiring check, my foot." But even his practical mask was flaking. The interior silence was oppressive and extended beyond any natural stillness. "Did you hear that?" Taha whispered, clutching Hamza's arm. "What's that, buddy?" Hamza asked, excited rather than afraid. A sigh, like the wind, but closer. They moved into the main drawing room. Moonlight, filtered through filthy, high windows, cast long, distorted shadows of the antique, draped furniture. As Hamza began narrating a shaky video for his camera, a distant, high-pitched thud echoed from the floor above. "The wind," Sale declared immediately, though the air inside was completely still. The labyrinth of shadows, they decided to follow the sound. The staircase protested with every ascending step. On the second floor, the atmosphere was noticeably colder, the air so heavy it felt like swimming through molasses. They found themselves in a long hallway with doors everywhere. The first two rooms were empty, save for broken, useless pieces of furniture. When they reached the third door, Hamza's excitement turned to confusion. The door was slightly ajar, and from within, a faint, flickering light pulsed. "Did Hader Uncle leave a lamp in here?" Taha asked, his voice barely audible. Sale pushed the door open completely. It was a nursery. A single, rocking cradle sat in the center of the room. The flickering light was coming from a small, ornate music box on a nearby table, which was slowly winding down, emitting a thin, tinny rendition of an old lullaby. But the most disturbing detail was the dust. Everything else in the mansion was layered in decades of grit, but the cradle and the music box were completely dust-free, as if someone had just placed them there. As the lullaby faded to silence, the rocking cradle, which had been stationary, began to gently sway. Hamza dropped his camera. Sale finally lost his doubts when a cold chill of dread gripped his throat. "The affrontment, we're leaving," Sale choked out, grabbing his friends. A shadow broke free from the wall in front of the nursery door as they turned to run. It wasn't a sharp, human shadow, but a shifting, denser darkness that seemed to absorb the torchlight. It didn't have a face, but it blocked the corridor. Taha yelled in pain and pointed at the music box. It was now wide open, and the tiny, carved ballerina inside was spinning wildly, faster and faster, but without making a sound. The speed created a blurring effect, making the wooden figure look like a vortex of motion. Suddenly, a woman's voice, raspy and dry like parchment, echoed from the darkness, a sound that seemed to come from the walls themselves. You came to check the wiring, but the connection is to the past. The air temperature dropped so sharply that they could see their own breath misting. In an effort to regain some courage, Hamza misplaced his camera flashlight and pointed it at the figure. The beam passed through the shadow, and for a terrifying second, they saw something beyond it. The hallway wall, but covered in dried, faded streaks that looked disturbingly like blood splatters. The shadow did a lunge. It wasn't fast, but its motion was inevitable, like a wave. The stairs, Sale yelled, shoving Taha forward. They scrambled down the treacherous staircase, their frantic steps echoing against the terrifying sound of the music box upstairs, which had started playing again for no apparent reason. This time, it sounded distorted and sad, like a child was crying. They entered the foyer without pausing to look around. The front door was their only goal. The heavy bolt slammed into place with a decisive thwack as Hamza reached for the handle, which slammed shut on its own. Trapped, they spun around. With deliberate movement, the shadow was now halfway down the main stairs. "Don't worry," the voice whispered again, closer now, seeming to come from the very floor beneath them. "An offering is required by the house." Epilogue: the night was divided by a car horn's loud beep, beep. The car of Hader Uncle was parked directly outside the gate when he returned 20 minutes early. The sudden, familiar sound seemed to shatter the oppressive atmosphere inside the Havely. The bolt on the front door clanged open, and the shadowy figure, halfway down the stairs, instantly dissolved into the surrounding darkness. The three friends didn't hesitate. They tore out of the mansion, slamming the great door behind them, and ran straight to the car, piling into the back seat, gasping for breath. Well, Hader Uncle chuckled, adjusting his shalwar camis. "Looks like the wiring was fine, boys. You appear to have witnessed a ghost. Did you forget to turn off a fan?" Sale clutched the brass key so tightly his knuckles were white. Hamza was shaking uncontrollably, his camera lying forgotten somewhere in the dust of the foyer. Taha remained silent as he gazed out the window at the mansion's looming shadow. Sale finally managed to say, straining his voice, "No, Uncle. The house is connected." Hader Uncle just smiled, an unsettlingly knowing smile, and pulled away from the curb of the Havely, Isara, leaving the quiet, mournful sound of a tinny lullaby to echo once more through the dusty night of Rahim Yar Khan.